Hello everyone, thank you for joining me today. In this video, I'll be taking you guys through some of my favorite movements and stretches to help you increase your back flexibility working towards a deeper back bend. So we'll go ahead and begin on all fours. Moving through some cat-cows, beginning to warm up through our spine. Lots of movement in today's flow, so feel free to move with your own body. This is your practice. I'm just here to lead you through it and give you some ideas. Keep in mind that these movements will look different on every body, and that is a beautiful thing, so embrace that and move how feels good to you. Continuing with the cat-cows. Rounding through your back, pressing through your shoulders, and then dropping your belly down towards the floor, sending your gaze high. Pressing up, rounding the back, and then pressing slightly over to the left, holding there. And pressing to the right. Drawing the belly towards the ground, pressing over to the left. And to the right. Rounding the back to the left. And to the right. Dropping the belly to the left. And the right. Finding neutral, and we'll begin to move through some rotations, some circles with the rib cage, drawing the rib cage over to the left, through the top, to the right, and to the center. Continuing this motion, really moving with your own body. If you like to go deeper into the shoulders, dipping through the elbows, drawing your chest closer to the mat, that's up to you. Just finding your own movement here. The purpose of these exercises is really to warm up the spine and get our bodies moving here. So do what feels good to you. Pausing at the top and switching directions. And the next time you're at the top of the motion, holding there, shifting your body a few inches forward, and then bringing your hips back towards your heels. So keeping the roundness through your back as you hinge forward and hinge back, moving at your own pace here. Arching your back, dropping your belly towards the floor, and continuing to hinge forward and back. As you come forward, sending your gaze up high. One more forward, and as you come back, sinking down, finding a wide-kneed child's pose if you'd like to bring your knees out a little wider. Beginning to rock the forehead left to right against the mat. Finding some little wiggles, some movement through your shoulders. Pressing your palms more firmly into the mat as you pick your chest and your forehead up. Continuing the side to side movements. warming up more so through the spine, left to right, and finding your way back to all fours. The shoulders come right over the hands and the hips come right over the knees. And then walking the hands a couple inches in front of where they are. Building a little flow here, hinging forward as you round through the back. Bringing the tops of the thighs and the hips down to the mat. The gaze goes high, moving through Cobra and then sending the hips back. Feel free to watch as my body moves here and then try on your own. Dropping the hips down and then pressing them back. Find your own movement. This is another one of those moves that will look different on everyone depending on their mobility here and just how their body naturally moves. Moving more deeply into this flow. Beginning to bend more into the elbows, pressing with your chest muscles. And reversing the posture. So reversing the rotations, hinging forward first as you swoop up, drawing your shoulder blades together, bringing the stretch and the release more through the shoulders as if you're doing a shoulder roll with the added resistance of your body against the mat. Taking one more here. And exhaling, drawing hips back towards the heels, finding a child's pose. Taking some easy wiggles left to right. And planting your hands, drawing yourself through all fours. And dropping your hips down towards the mat, finding yourself through a Cobra, and then your chest comes down. So as we lay here with our bellies down on the mats, our foreheads down towards the ground, begin to take some small shoulder rolls. Moving the left and then the right, alternating sides. Beginning to place more pressure into the palms as you slowly lift your head and your chest up off the mat, working yourself through a full Cobra position. Feel free to get a little dancey and a little flowy here. That's the fun of it. Once you reach the top, finding neutral, drawing your shoulders down along your back. Releasing towards the mat and pressing up. Releasing and pressing. Releasing and pressing. Holding here and sending your gaze over your right shoulder. Through center and to the left. Go ahead and take one more on each side, keeping those shoulders down and along your spine as you move, actively pressing your chest forward, and exhale, release towards the mat. Taking 3 more rises and falls. Every time you come up, actively pulling your shoulder blades back together, pressing your chest, opening your heart towards the front of the room. Next time you're up, go ahead and hold there. And drop your elbows down towards the mat for Sphinx pose. So as I'm laying here, it may look like I'm not doing too much work. It may look like I'm just hanging out. So we'll try and actively pull our shoulder blades back together. Think of it as pulling your elbows back towards your heels. Your legs should be completely active, pressing the tops of the feet down strong into the mat. Maybe you're pressing so hard that your knees lift. You may even begin to find some shakes in your body as you're pressing so hard to open up your chest and bend deeper through your upper spine. One more big breath in. On the exhale, stretch your hands out in front of you for a big full body stretch, finding length from your fingertips all the way down to your toes. Drawing your hands right about under your shoulders, taking some small rolls here as you press yourself back into a cobra and lifting the hips, finding child's pose. We're beginning to build a flow here, moving from a cobra to a child's pose, finding a roundness through your back as you come forward, dropping your chest down, pressing through cobra and sinking the hips back towards the heels. Again, feel free to watch as I move here, and always feel free to pause the video and practice on your own, then follow along with me. Finding awareness to breath and moving at your own pace. Adding on to this flow, next time you find yourself in child's pose, go ahead and rise up high on your knees, bringing your hands to the lower back or around where your tailbone is and pressing your hips forward. If you feel comfortable with camel pose, feel free to bring your hands back to your heels or along the backs of your thighs. Keeping your head up towards the ceiling, only dropping it back if you feel comfortable there. Slowly walking your hands up the backs of your thighs into your low back. Come up to your knees, dropping your left hand down towards your left heel and opening up to the side for half camel. Building a flow as you swing around to the other side, opening to half, taking one more time each side. Exhaling, hips to heels, taking a big stretch and rounding forward, ears come right between the shoulders, dropping the hands and continuing through your flow here, melting your chest to the floor, pressing through cobra and back to the heels, only this time lifting up, finding a half camel variation to one side and returning to the flow. Next time you come back up, taking the half camel to the other side. Taking one more flow through on the left and on the right. Moving one more time through, this time if you'd like, taking a full camel posture at the back of the flow. Slowly coming back to seated, allowing yourself a few moments here to return your spine to neutral. Walking your feet up to your hands in a forward fold, just an easy forward fold, bending deeply through the knees. And I'm taking a big rounded stretch forward, eventually rolling back on your mat, taking some rock and rolls. Rounding yourself as much as possible here, eventually landing on your back. We'll be working with a hip bridge next, so walking your heels in as close towards your hips as possible. Taking a big breath in, letting it go. The next inhale, sending your hips up high, actively pressing them up towards the ceiling. The next inhale, rising up on the toes and dropping the heels. Rising and dropping. One more, lifting and lowering. Adding some support from the hands and allowing yourself to find more of a bend through your spine. Bending your elbows and bringing your hands just about to your hips. And allowing the weight of your hips to press down towards your hands, finding a slight arch in your back. Taking these next few moments to play around with this stretch. If you're watching me on screen, you can see how momentarily I'm lifting my hips and repositioning my hands on different places along my back to get a bit of a different stretch. I'm working my hands up towards my rib cage and then back down towards my hips. If you want to play around with this posture a little more, you can mess around with lifting one knee and then the other. Maybe you can get both up towards the ceiling with a bit of a supported hollow back posture. The trick here is to really walk the elbows as far behind you as possible. Feel free to pause the video and play around with that a little more. Otherwise, dropping your hips back down towards the mat. Taking your feet wide and allowing your knees to fall in towards one another. Taking a nice release along the lower back and windshield, wipering the knees out side to side. Taking your knees in tight and giving them a big hug before we begin our back bend or our wheel sequence. We will take 3 wheels. If they are not in your practice, feel free to take more hip bridges. If they are, on your next inhale, go ahead and press your hands into the mat, sending your hips high. Each wheel posture we will hold for a count of 10 seconds. 3, 2, and 1. Slowly lowering yourself down to the mat. Take a breather here. On your next inhale, pressing your hips high once again, finding your wheel. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and lowering. Releasing out your lower back. We have one more lift into wheel. Feel free to take the same variation you did before. In the video, I will be showing you several different variations to get a bit of a deeper stretch. So if you are lifting, go ahead and lift now, and I'll talk through what I'm doing in the video. So here I am lowering down onto my elbows, straightening my legs a little more, and really pressing my chest out forward in front of me. If you are holding in your back bend, go ahead and hold for 3, 2, 1, and lowering down. I find the best way to get out of being on the elbows is to press back up to the hands and then lower. If that is not available to you, however, it is alright to lower down directly from the elbows. So there you have it. Go ahead and pull your knees into your chest. Give yourself a little release. Give yourself a big hug for all that hard work you just did. And as always, thank you all so much for practicing with me today. I hope you got something out of this video, learned some new movements, some new tips and tricks to improve your back flexibility. Thank you all. Namaste.